Recording in progress.
Shabbat Shalom. Rest rising to those that are listening in. So, kind of want to talk on this. It ain't always what it looked like. It ain't always what it seems. So, just looking at life and everything, and so sometimes you can see a situation that looks so perfect, and in the background it's not. But also, you can see a situation that's full of calamity, but then judge the person involved and say, well, they must be in sin or something is displeasing to the Most High because why are they going through that? And that ain't how that work. That ain't how that work. You know, on Facebook, a lot of people always say, well, Shanquilla is this or Shanquilla is that. And I'm like, I'm not putting forth a false narrative of who I am. You see a portion of me. I have a social media presence that I don't have a large following, but I do have a following. But when I'm dealing with real life situations and stuff, of course, I'm not always dealing with what I'm talking on in these videos and stuff. So that moment maybe is a teaching moment, but just living life, you're not going to always see that aspect. So I was going through something, and one of my young men that I around that I help guide basically is like, man, I never seen you like this. And he's been around me for nearly a year and he's never seen me like that. And I was kind of a little distraught. And so I'm like, okay, I need to remove myself from this situation because in that position that I'm in, I'm there to uplift and not bring despair. And I really was not in the mood to deal with much. And probably, my blood pressure was high and I probably would have not dealt with any type of conflict or any type of situation with resolution as my focus, but I probably would have snapped out. Let me pray real quick. Abba, Yah, thank you for this Shabbat. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to minister. Let me just share from where I'm at, and may your will be done, and may you always gain honor. Yada Yahuwah. So, with all that being said, you know, just looking at life in general, you can see somebody that's walking upright, but not know that they're walking upright because you see the difficulties. You like they may a death may occur in their family, a loss of job, some form of financial struggle, their children out of line. A lot of different things can occur, and a person can be judged according to what's going on, and they may not know their heart and know their intent and know their walk with Yah. Like, man, that's only happening because this, and that's the wrong way to look at it. Me myself, I can be honest, I have a lot of imperfections. One of them is I get very, very, very hostile to anybody who's playing with my money. I I'm not a money worshiper, but I'm like I spend my time making money, and so I don't play about my money. I don't like nobody count my pockets. Those things bother the heck out of me. When you try to manage my money and tell me what I can do or what I should be doing with my money, I'm not talking about like somebody who's giving advice on how to gain money, but how to spend it, or basically you could buy this. Or I'm not the biggest materialistic person like most. That doesn't, like if you see, I design my own clothes most of the time, my shirts, I guess. I like my own designs, and that's what I'm into. I'm not gonna go spend a whole lot of money on a designer shirt or something like that. I feel like my shirts is better quality and a lot of that stuff. But again, that ain't the focus. Me, myself, putting me out there, that's one of my areas. I also don't like lying when people just blatantly lie about stuff or whatever, or lie on you. People say sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And most of the times, what's hurt me the most has been the words. When I've expected integrity out of people, and that is not what's come forth. And people say, well, you can't expect people to be like you. I try my best not to give my word on anything that I'm not able to fulfill. Just don't do it. You know, I'm not like everybody else. I'm on time person. I don't do CP time. I'm on time, and on time to me means a little bit early. You know, that's just me. I'm not one that just blows off things or whatever. I've usually have a good record as far as attendance at work and stuff like that. That's not something that they usually have a problem out of me. That's not it. Now, I'm one that I'm an empath, so I'm I guess you could say a busybody in some sense. I used to be a union rep, so I'd be concerned about others being done wrong. That does bother me. And so sometimes I can see situations that's happening to other people and involve myself in it when it really that's not my issue, my problem. And I'm like, okay, I'm an advocate. I see myself, I'm a watchman. And so I get that's part of my makeup. But sometimes I do need to sit to the side. You know, Sometimes I add my advice to situations that maybe people just don't want that. But I'm like, you're talking to me. And so maybe that's why some people avoid talking to me. Uh, right now, this is in the conversation piece, people may think I'm going long, and so this is the time they probably, switch the channel and they turn off the live. But let me keep it moving. So, not to focus on myself, I'm gonna change the focus and try to go to the text or to the word and see how certain situations kind of fold out. You look at them. Now, I'm gonna just give a couple scenarios, first, and then I'm gonna move into the text. Because, like, looking at David, his life, he was one that was constantly fighting. He was a warrior. But then there happened to be a time that he was at his kingdom, and his his people were out fighting war. So he's at home and he's high up in his castle or wherever he lived, his kingdom. And he happened to look down and he seen a woman bathing Bathsheba. It's amazing that her name is Bathsheba and she was taking a bath. Man, if he would have just been out in war with his people like he always was, he wouldn't have seen her. Or likely, you know, he would have been focused on the war instead of this naked, beautiful woman that actually belonged to one of his soldiers. Man, he seen her and was like, oh, go get her for me. Him being king, no people knew that was wrong, but they obeyed their king. If he would have been out in war, doing what he's supposed to be doing or what he normally be doing, would he have got caught up? Probably not. So a lot of times, this king was the righteous king, the one that was after Yah's heart. And yet he looked the part most of the time after, when he was younger, he didn't look the part, but he looked the part now. And then now he's snatching up somebody else's wife. He's committing adultery. And he even set that man up and murdered that man and took his wife, might as well say. Looking from the outside, it's a great king, but only certain people knew the inner workings of what was going on, and that this man was committing adultery, and then he murdered a man. It's like, man, everything looked good. When he was younger, they wouldn't even look. He was just the shepherd boy. But he when he did his thing when it came to this king thing, so it looked good, but it wasn't all good. Wasn't all good. Let me see. Judas or Yahuda. He hanging out with the 12. He one of the 12. Everything looked good because they out there doing miracles. They doing all this in the name of Yah. But this dude, when he got the coins and holding on to the money, he up there stealing out the change box. Looked good, but that wasn't the case. That was not the case. Not good. When you're dealing with Yahusha, he going through something to the point that he praying to the Father. His sweat, blood coming out of his pores as well. He get up on the stauros, the wood, and he going through it. It looked like he forsaken, he looked like he, in despair. Looked like it's all over for him. But he was obeying and doing what he was supposed to be doing. The diligent soldier basically can expect hardness to come his way, can expect some trouble to come his way. If you are on your task with Yah, you can expect some attack to come your way, that the enemy is going to take focus on you. You can expect that. But of course, a lot of times people be making it as if you walking with Yah, ain't nothing gonna touch you. And I believe that to an extent that you shall not surely die, but you're gonna have some challenges. Your peace is gonna be attacked. And what you gonna do? Are you gonna fall, or are you gonna, abandon your race? I'm like, man, I know I was frustrated yesterday. I had already been to my doctor and he was telling me, you need to do something about your blood pressure. I'm getting bigger. Man, I'm way bigger. I used to be the skinniest dude there was, and now I'm the big dude. I got, I need to do something about it. I've been told, so let's see what I'm gonna do. But I was going through something and it had me mad and angry to the point my blood pressure was raising, and I'm like, no, I just need to get away for a minute. And see, I got some good things coming over the horizon. And so, do I let that spoil that? Or do I get back on task? When you're walking like you're supposed to be walking, doing the things in your lane, you can expect something, some form of turmoil, some form of trepidation to come your way. And of course, in that, people are going to be looking and observing to see how you handle it. Man, the pressure is going to come. When you lift and weight, the weight gets heavy, but you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pressing it off of you. You can't let it burst you. Pipes get pressure, with the water flowing through. So when the Ruach is flowing, will you allow the Ruach to have its presence and fill you, or will you let it seep out of you and then basically be left on your own devices? I'm gonna go ahead and read some because this is gonna be a short day. I'm gonna be honest, I have not did much study this week like I'm supposed to. I'm dropping the ball. So taking accountability for me. But let me go ahead over here and I want to read something because this is going to be a short message today. Because again, you can see I'm not prepared for nothing longer, but this is something that most should already have some relation with. But let me go ahead and over here and read this. All right. I'm getting there. Again, the name of this message is What It Looks Like Isn't Always What It Is. And so I'm going over here and I'm gonna read. Share my screen. We're going over here to what you call Job or Ayob 1. It says, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name is Ayob. And that man was perfect. He was mature and straight, and one who feared Elohim and turned aside from evil. He was doing what was right, living his life according to Yah. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. He had 10 children, and his possessions were 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 female donkeys and a very large body of servants, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. People of the East. And his sons went and had a feast in the house of each on his day. That probably his birthday. That's probably one of the most acknowledging of birthdays. You don't really see birthdays acknowledged. And sent and invited their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it came to be when the days of feasting had gone round that Ayob would send and set them apart. And he would rise early in the morning and offer ascending offerings, the number of them all. For Ayob said, it might be that my sons have sinned and cursed Elohim in their hearts. This Ayob always did. So he was interceding for them. This man was righteous, walking with Yah, living according to the will of Yah. So you see, he had all of the aesthetics. He had the wealth. He had the family. He had all the aesthetics of what you would think somebody would be highly favored or whatever. By natural sense, he was rich and wealthy, but by natural sense, you would say, oh man, he's favored. They would use the word blessed. I don't like using that word. But anyway, look what goes forth. And the day came to be that the sons of Elohim, came to present themselves before Yahuwah. So look at who is one of the sons of Elohim. And Hasatan also came among them. Because he was a creation of Yahuwah. He is one that's obedient to Yahuwah. Most people don't recognize it, but this being is doing the work assigned to him. He's on task, he's on duty. A tester. But let me keep going. He's an adversary. He's a hired adversary, you might well say. Okay, say, and Yahuwah said to Hasatan, from where do you come? And Hasatan answered Yahuwah and said, from diligently, see, he's diligently, he's doing his job consistently. He ain't missing a day of work, searching in the earth and from walking up and down in it. So his job is to be diligently searching in the earth and walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said to Hasatan, have you considered my servant Ayub? So he asking him, has he considered him? So it must be his job to, again, he looking to and fro and searching the earth. So what is he searching for? People to test. Have you considered my servant Ayub? And there is none like him on the earth. So Yah is acknowledging the righteousness that this man is perfect or mature, blameless. There is none like him on the earth, a perfect and straight man, one who fears Elohim and turns aside from evil. And Hasatan answered Yahuwah and said, is Ayub fearing Elohim for naught? He challenging Yah and asking him, is he fearing you for naught? Have you not made a hedge around him? You protecting him, you covering him, and around his household, and around all that he has on every side. You're like, you ain't really let me touch him. I'm going to and fro searching, but you ain't really let me touch him. Said, you have favored the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. You got much favor for him. And look at how he looks. It looks great. It looks good. Everybody could see the favor on him. He said, but stretch out your hand, please, and strike all that he has, if he would not curse you to your face. If he would not curse you to your face. Basically, if you stretched out your hand and it started to look different than what you say it is. You say you favor this man, but if you stretch out your hand and you make it look different, he gonna curse you to your face. He challenging the Most High. And Yahuwah said to Hasatan, see, all that he has is in your hand. Only do not lay a hand on himself. He like, man, my relationship with him is tight. Those things mean nothing. It's me and him. You take those things from him and we gonna still be good. Our relationship still gonna be good. That's how I read that. I'm putting my own spin on that. And Yahuwah said to Hasatan, see, all that he has is in your hand. So I'm gonna let you take or do whatever you want to with all he has. Only do not lay a hand on him. So that means his children, his wealth, all this stuff. And Hasatan went out from the presence of Yahuwah. So he accepted the assignment. He on duty. He going to and fro on the earth, searching, and now he done found Ayub. And the day came to be when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the house of their brother, the firstborn, so the oldest. And a messenger came to Ayub and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding alongside them, when Sheba fell upon them and took them away. And they struck the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to inform you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, the fire of Elohim fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to inform you. So look, all that stuff that was security to him, wealth to him, Hasatan is doing his diligence and now taking those things away. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, the Kasdim formed 3 bands and made a raid on the camels and took them away. and they struck the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to inform you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the house of their brother, the firstborn. And see, a great wind came from the wilderness and struck the four corners of the house, and it fell on the young men, and they are dead. And I alone have escaped to inform you. He losing everything. He losing everything. Let me stop right there. Have you lost anything lately that you value greatly? Have you lost a loved one that basically maybe allowed you to feel favored? Man, my wife is such um she should that me being with her is showing me so much favor from Yah, because I don't feel worthy to have a wife such as she, you know, and so I'm so thankful, but I don't know what I would do if I lost her. My children, I'm proud of them. I don't know what I would do if I lost them. My mother, sometimes our relationship is not because I'm holding on to things, I guess. I don't know what I would do if I lost her. Yeah, Ayo was losing everything. I was tripping out over a little couple of dollars the other day, yesterday. I was tripping, and it hurt me. But I see. I believed I was gonna shake it off, and I got the chance, and I did shake it off because everything was restored back to me. You know, and but I'm gonna tell you, my blood pressure raised. I was angry. I'm not perfect and blameless. I'm not by any means. But that doesn't mean that you're not still loved by Yah. That doesn't mean that he's still not showing favor. He allows us to be tested. He's not doing the testing, but he has a tester on duty. Hasatan, the adversary. And it's like people are like, well, why would he allow that? Why would he allow death, all these different things to occur? But it's like, is a thing really what it is until it's proven? In the world of fakes, you got to prove stuff. Somebody just hand you a piece of paper and say, that's $100. You got counterfeits, you got things that's not real. You know, you got so many people that are taking advantage of people, giving them things that they desire or want, but knowing what they're giving them is not, I guess, it's not something viable. If you say I'm hungry and I give you some fake food that's not going to nourish you, I'm like, yeah, you ate it, but it did nothing to really fill the need that you have inside for the hungry. You back hungry again because it ain't it. And maybe that's a bad example or whatever, but man, it's just so many times in life that things occur that we automatically jump to the side that it must be something wrong with that person. They're getting judged for their sin. And that's not always the case. Hasatan may have asked, can I touch them? You need to know the conclusion of the whole matter before you judge it. Because I'm gonna keep reading this Job situation, but I'm not gonna read all of it, of course. But most that know the scenario knows that Job's friend come in and basically, tell him that, it must be something wrong in your life. And that wasn't the case. But here it goes. Then Iob rose up and tore his robe. He's grieving and shaved his head. Out of all the things that, look, he shaved his head. How many people try to make it like it's a sin to shave your head, to be bald? I'm a bald man. Let me close the screen just for a second. I'm a bald man. I shave my head. It's not to worship no deity or nothing like that. It's for grooming. And how many times have Israelites try to make it like, oh, that's a sin? And it's like, man, the text that they try to use, they don't realize it was dealing with cutting, scarring, and stuff like that. And it had nothing to do with a haircut or grooming. But anyway, I'm gonna just go back here. That was a rabbit trail. It said, and shaved his head and fell to the ground and did obeisance. This man is praying and breaking down towards the Father. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. Yahuwah has given, and Yahuwah has taken away. Favored be the name of Yahuwah. So he didn't curse Yahuwah. He exalted Yahuwah. He came with his prayer, his supplication, and thanksgiving to Yahuwah, despite losing almost everything. In all this, Yahweh did not sin. See that? He did not sin. So him cutting off his hair was not a sin. Him written or tearing his clothes was not a sin. Him, of course, giving acknowledgement and praise, Yada Yahuwah, hallelujah, to Yahuwah, favor be the name of Yahuwah. It says, in all this, in all this, in all this, Iob did not sin, nor ascribe wrongdoing unto Elohim. He didn't blame Yah. His friends ends up coming around saying, "Oh man, you must have did something." His wife tells him, "Oh, just give up on Yah and die." Nope. Iob did question Yah, but of course, Yah is not threatened by questions. A true leader should never be threatened by questions. It's all about how you bring those questions. Do it with respect. Iob questioned Yah and Yah answered him. That relationship still was there. But he had to remind Iob of his place, that I'm the creator and you are the created one. But Iob dealt with some serious matters. He lost life of his family. His wife basically wanted him to, go against Yah, turn against Yah. He lost all his wealth, and yet he still honored Yah. The test that Iob went through, he passed it. Will you? I'm like, yesterday, I don't know. It, it was not it it was not a significant enough money that I was set to lose to even compare myself to Job. It wasn't even fully a week's pay, but it was close to it. And I was livid. And of course, I put out my situation and, and I had to take that. Even though I wanted to blame others, it was my fault. a lot of times we do our diligence in certain areas, but not in all. You need to know what's going on, know what your part in the situation. And me not knowing my part, that's on me. I didn't know my part in the situation, and of course, I lost out on something. But of course, someone else replenished it. I gotta thank Yah. I end up whole after the situation, but my blood pressure raised. Anything, I could have lost it. I could have did things that basically blew up my whole spot. And that's why I basically fled the situation. I'm like, let me go home because I don't want to do something that I'm going to regret because I was not in a good space. So it's a lot of times, again, like I say, I used to be a skinny dude. I'm a big dude. So it's a lot of times I've avoided or got out of space because it's like, it's better for me to be away from this situation than to stay in it because I know me. And I'm not, I'm not, I'm gonna claim righteous because y'all say I'm righteous, but my flesh say, I be tempted to lay hands on people. I ain't done that, but I be tempted to. So a lot of times I've had to, move away from situations, away from certain people because I feel like they very much disrespectful to my being. People say, "Well, you scared?" No, I ain't scared. I'm scared of what I'll do. So it's best for me to just, you know, not cut them off, basically, not be done with them, but I need to remove myself from that situation for the moment. And maybe come back when I'm calmed down or whatever, because if they keep playing with me, I'm gonna do something that's going to destroy my reputation with Yah. And once you do that, then what? It's hard to rebuild what you done tore down with your own hands. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but a lot of time, them words, when people lie on you and do stuff, that stuff, it it sets in. And with me being a cerebral or a mental person, it sets in. I think way too much. As you see, I talk way too much, probably. You always see me different posts or whatever and stuff like that. I'm constantly, and that's my makeup. I am that. Sometimes I have to shut up. So I'm quiet sometimes, and people don't notice it because of the frequency of how much I do talk. So you don't even notice it. You don't miss it when I am quiet. But I thank you for the examples that God, the Most High has given to show us that, just because you're going through something don't mean he ain't there with you. Yeah, he want to see what you're gonna do. How are you gonna turn on him? Are you gonna stay with him? You know, we're gonna lose some things as we live because we live to die on this earth, might as well say. So you're gonna lose some things that you value. Family members gonna go. How you deal with it? If you left here to do the work, what you gonna do? You gonna quit or you gonna keep working? You know, it's always good to give your condolences and support people and stuff like that when they're going through stuff. But know this, you're gonna have your time that you're gonna want people to support you and have compassion on you as you grieve. Know this, you have something that you value. The likelihood that you're gonna lose it is great because the enemy has no problem testing you to see if you love that thing or those people more than you do Yah. None of us want that test. Like I say, I don't want to lose my wife. I'd rather me go first. And maybe that's me being selfish, but I don't want to lose my children. But the more I speak truth, the more I speak on things, the likelihood is that stuff gonna happen. When you are walking in Yah, you attract attack. But as a watchman, you can yell out warnings. If those that hear you heed, you've done your job. If those that hear you don't heed, you've done your job. Your job is just to warn. You can't dictate how that warning is going to be received or not received. Do your job. And that does not mean that your job's not going to come without some loss. Likelihood is going to come with a lot of loss, especially if you're diligent in doing your job. It's not fun and games all the time. You know me. If you know me, you know I like fun and games. I'm not as serious as people see. Oh, he's super serious. Be around me enough and you'll see. Nah, I'm a fun guy sometimes, but sometimes I'm straight. Gotta catch me at the moment. I'm never faking who I am, but I am who I am. Abba Yah, thank you for this Shabbat. I thank you for this opportunity. May we be more sympathetic to those that are going through struggles and not judge them according to the struggle, but judge them according to their endurance during the struggle. If they are enduring hardness like a soldier, let us check with you before we judge them. See if they're in the lane that you have directed them to be in before we add ourselves to being adversaries. We don't want to work alone with Hasatan. We want to work along with you, Yahuwah, so that your will be done in each and every one of your servants, as well as in this earth, so that your kingdom is established here as it is in the Shamayim. May we be mindful that everything is not as it looks. Testing every Ruach is something that you have allowed to be written. May we move forth doing such, asking you on a matter and allowing you to answer before we start speaking against it. Especially if no transgression of the laws occurred, let us speak according to your will in agreement on the matter. Not casting out, not separating those that are walking in obedience to you. Some of us, have been manipulated to turn our backs on some because they are no longer a part of set groups, assemblies, camps, or whatever. And that's not how it is. If you can still be Israel and not be in these so-called camps and assemblies, a lot of times those areas are not suitable for some, it's not that it's not suitable, but a lot of times that person does not fit that mold, and it may be that if they stay in there, that it'll lead them to lash out or be in sin, and it's better for them to remove themselves than to go there. So I thank you, Yah, for this Shabbat. Thank you for my household. Shankwil Yah, Shankwila Carter, One Vision Ministry, says Yada Yahuwah. Hallelujah and Yada Yahuwah. Baruch Atah.